We're on a roll. There's no use shutting down now. We might as well just tackle every big topic there is that's important to the world in biblical prophecy. And if you've read Daniel 11, 41 through 45, then you know there's many countries that says would be overthrown. You can call it the Arab Spring if you want to. The Bible calls it the rise of an Antichrist. And prior to his arrival, it says many nations will be overthrown, including Egypt, Libya, and stand right at the steps of Ethiopia. Well, we've seen Ivory Coast change hands. We've seen, and that's because they had President Kabo had to go. They pulled him out of a foxhole. And then Tunisia's 23-year dictator, Ben Ali, gone. Then Egypt. Their 32-year dictator, Hosni Mubarak, gone. Okay? Which was prophesied. Then, Libya's 42-year dictator, Muammar Gaddafi, gone. Dead. Body in the street. Then, Yemen's president of several years, gone. His name was Ali Saleh. He had to go away. So he went to the US of A. That's where he is today. And Yemen traded off for that hospital visit for his health, since he had 7 assassination attempts. Their government is fledgling. They went ahead and let the United States put thousands of US troops as we speak on an island off the coast of Yemen and on an island off the coast of Oman. Now, while that went on, what else? President Assad's about ready to fall. And then you got to throw in President Ahmadinejad. Now, I've heard from Reverend Gary of Kentucky, and he sent me an email, an article, that just yesterday, the Iranian parliament has summoned Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran. He must stand before parliament and ask some tough questions. This is the first time that the Iranian parliament has called the president in for high-level questioning since the revolution of 1979. Keep that in mind. But Stephen of Oklahoma has also sent me a very powerful article. This was done by WorldNet Daily. This has a whole lot more world ramifications as it relates to the world's oil supply and the blowing up of the entire Middle East, which you can find when you want to talk about Assad in Syria and Ahmadinejad and the Ayatollah Khomeini, the spiritual leader of Iran, the Shiite faith, the eschatology of his theology being taught among his people is that because of chaos, great chaos and destruction, including on Israel, primarily Israel, would force Allah or give Allah a reason to send the 12th Imam, the Ali Mahdi, the Muslim Messiah, if you will, to return and bring peace and tranquility and in the world of injustices and drag Jesus Christ along with him as like Batman and Robin. That's crazy, but that is what millions of Iranians believe. Now, a lot of other Muslims don't believe that way, including the Sunnis of Saudi Arabia. But this thing's getting ugly because Russia, the bear from the north, apparently has the back of both Assad of Syria and Ahmadinejad of Iran. Then throw China in the mix, NATO, the United Nations, and the Arab League, and Benjamin Netanyahu, who may just act alone unilaterally and just take care of business. You've got a recipe for a disaster. Now let me read to you right here. Because biblical prophecy says in Jeremiah 49, verse 23 through 27, that Assad and Syria will fall, that Damascus will become a war zone. It won't even be a city anymore, just become a ruinous heap. You can find that in Isaiah 17:1, and you can find it in Jeremiah 49, 23 through 27. Then that same chapter, Jeremiah 49, it's prophesied that the leader of Iran will fall. Well, now they're bringing him into his own parliament. Now hang on. Here's what's going on. Recent Iranian naval activity has shown exercises that appear to be aimed more at shutting down the Straits of Hormuz. What? Are you serious? Are you serious? What? Shutting down the Straits of Hormuz? You better get some coffee. It ought to be an Are You Serious? Jesus Saves Coffee Cup, because right now we're talking about some serious economic ramifications that your gas pump, which you're right now filling up at $3.39 a gallon, is getting ready to go to $12 a gallon if this thing is to happen. Recent Iranian naval activity has shown that the exercises, and that's why in my book, The Hosea Prophecy, I actually talk about the uprisings and the Daniel, and the things I was just quoting there for you. And I wrote this back in August, September. And so I talk a lot about this Arab Spring, these nations, because it's biblical prophecy. But you can find out more about my book over at my website. Now, that's paulbegleyprophecy.com. Recent Iranian naval activity has shown exercises that appear to be aimed more at shutting down the Straits of Hormuz than the defensive preparations that have been identified as the goal of Iran. And that has prompted an internal debate between the military and the parliamentary members. And that's partly why Ahmadinejad is being brought into question within his own nation. The maneuvers showed a definite trend of engaging in an unconventional warfare by attacking primarily oil tankers. Can you imagine the mess? If Iran was to blow up a couple major, huge oil tankers, first of all, the ecosystem would just it would be a disaster of biblical proportions. But more importantly, then there would be a huge economic collapse from such a maneuver. So these maneuvers show activity using missiles, and particularly submarines, using torpedoes to develop the G2 bulletin recently reported. While these maneuvers were to be show of force and capabilities of the Iranian military, it also gave U.S. intelligence a keen insight on tactics to be employed that would then allow the U.S. military to take evasive action. In light of this tactical move, with its obvious military risks, the ultimate strategic objective is to cause major chaos in the oil markets and the global economy, on which the United States would rely heavily for its own survival, according to the Iranian sources. Of course, that's their play, folks. That is their play. This is how dangerous. It's easy to sit back and flippantly say, just nuke them. I mean, you got to think this thing all the way out. First of all, there's a lot of innocent Iranians caught in the mayhem, in the massacre, in the meanness, and the Muslims, and the mosque. They don't need that. They don't deserve that. And so there are serious things going on right now that have to be discussed. This show of offensive maneuvers has prompted an internal debate with more moderate Iranian forces who believe the maneuvers pose a risky policy and could cause an advent military confrontation with the United States naval forces. So according to the Imad Hussein of the Iranian Energy Commission of the Iranian Parliament, rhetoric is threatening to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. Does not help Iran's position over its nuclear development. They could care less about their position. They already know the world will not let them have nuclear weapons. The world will never agree to let them have them. But the world may let them have them for fear they'll blow up the tankers in the Straits of Hormuz, sending the entire world in a tailspin. Now, unfortunately, America's got so much oil right now in our own ground that if we started to drill it and pump it, we would never need one drop of oil from the Middle East. But there's a lot of money men involved here, and that would just put an end to their billions. And so there's such political debate and hand-wringing and eye-poking. So let me just say to you, Jesus said these things was going to come to pass. Wars, rumors of wars, earthquakes everywhere, all kinds of plagues and diseases. So if you're not saved, give your life to Jesus Christ. Call upon him right now. Send me a personal message and title it, I want to be saved. I want to be saved. I want to be